I'm Deni Gobel. I'm the Republican candidate for district judge. I'm proud to give the voters a choice for the first time in almost 30 years. I'd like to just take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about who I am, and then a few minutes to tell you also who I'm not. First and foremost, I am a Christian, and I'm not shy about letting you know that my faith will be part of who I am as a judge because it's part of me. My family and I are active members at First Baptist Church in Mount Pleasant, which is where my grandmother, Reese Smarter, retired school teacher, is also a member. I'm married to Gobel and have been for 14 years. He's a director of IT at Preferred, and I'm the mother of 2 boys, Travis and Shane at Chapel Hill, and stepmother to Grant, who's 17. I serve on the district site-based committee for Chapel Hill School, and I'm a familiar face around the school. I'm a public servant. I love our community, and I feel a responsibility to help make it better. My husband and I both serve as board members for the Mount Pleasant Habitat for Humanity, and I'm proud to live in a town that pulls together the way this one does, to feed the hungry, to house the homeless, and to give comfort to the sick and the brokenhearted. In my 41 years, I've worked in the legal profession for over 20 years, and I've been a lawyer for 11, graduating from the University of Houston with a BA in political science and the University of Houston Law Center with a Doctor of Jurisprudence in 1999. I worked full-time for a fantastic trial lawyer in downtown Houston during the day while I went to law school at night. My son Travis was born 2 weeks before finals, my first full semester in law school. That was fun. My last year of law school, I had the privilege of interning for 2 different district judges, so I have first-hand experience behind the scenes in the courtroom. I'm also a trained mediator, and I completed my advanced mediation training in 2007. I spent years settling disputes between parties and their attorneys, acting as a third-party neutral. When disputes arise out of the mediation process, I've acted as an arbitrator, essentially as a private judge, wherein the parties have chosen to pay me to resolve their disputes rather than take those same disputes to their free elected judge. Though I've never defended anyone accused of a crime, I have experience resolving disputes between people, not just acting as an advocate. As a trial lawyer, I've tried cases in counties across Texas, including Camp, Rusk, Bear, Harris, Montgomery, Waller, Galveston, Morris, and Titus counties, to name some off the top of my head. I've been involved from the simplest of agreements to the most complex cases, covering virtually every area of the law, including contract disputes, enforcement of orders, international kidnapping, assault, protective orders, torts, bankruptcy, guardianship, custody, and grandparents' rights. A complex family law case can and does contain all of these matters, and I've dealt with each and every one of those areas of the law in cases that I've handled. I'm currently representing children in CPS cases in Titus County. I'm not too old, too young, too tired, or too numb from overexposure to handle this job with the seriousness, passion, and professionalism it requires. I am impartial as required by law. Just know that when you or someone you love enters the courtroom, you'll be treated with fairness and respect, regardless of your last name, the language spoken, your political affiliation, or any other superficial indicators. Each situation is unique and will be cited based on the evidence and testimony in the case, nothing more and nothing less. Now, you're going to be here at the political forum tonight listening to all of us tell you how we're not politicians, so here we go. I am not a politician, nor is anyone in my family. I've never run for public office, nor have I held one. My daddy wasn't a judge, nor my granddaddy, and I don't feel like it's a throne to be handed down. I paid my own way through college and my own way through law school, and I've worked at virtually every level in the legal field, starting in the mailroom at my law firm when I was 18 years old. I've been told I can't do things all my life, and not once has anyone been right yet. I've been told that no woman, especially one who insists on affiliating with a party that she believes respects her core values and beliefs, can ever get elected. But I refuse to compromise my principles. I'm not a one-trick pony, but I have the experience and the character vital to making these important decisions. I'm asking you to think, when you go to vote, who would you want to make the decision if it was your child or grandchild? And I'd like to be your next district judge. Thanks.
In January of 2011, reality will meet the person who's elected to be district judge, because at that time, the judge will have to go to Jefferson, and there will be cases set for trial. There will be jury cases. There will be felony jury cases. There will be civil cases of complex types, contract disputes, condemnation cases, perhaps child custody cases. And at that point in time, it will become apparent that the experience is what is going to determine the outcome of any of these cases as far as the judge is concerned. Because you see, there is no school for district judges. There's only one place where a person learns to be a district judge, and that is going to the courtroom and fighting many, many battles against good lawyers. And that's what I've done throughout my career. There is I believe, a situation or a misconception about what judges do. Judges are required to be impartial. They're required to call the shots like they see them. And this is something that was asked of me at one of these at the Titus County Fair. Well, what is your judicial philosophy? And at first I thought, that really doesn't make much sense, because a trial judge, you try lawsuits. You rule on evidence. You will determine what the law is. You don't have a philosophy, but you do. It was a good question, because my philosophy is pretty simple. My philosophy is this: you work hard. You bring everything that you've got to the job. You be impartial. You treat people to where they're supposed to be treated. At the same time, you must command the respect that a district judge has to have, because if you do not, the courtroom becomes more like a circus. Lawyers being what they are, and I have been one, they are litigious. They advocate strongly. And so a judge has, in addition to being able to be fair, you must maintain the decorum and the respect of the lawyers and the litigants. And this is something that I've learned to do over many, many years, 37 years practicing law. My father was a district judge, and he told me one thing when I believe that was probably 8th or 9th grade, because he had been a new judge, and this is a true story. There was a vicious strike going on at Lone Star Steel. The parties were polarized, and he was his first term in office. He had examined the law and examined the evidence, and he had determined that he was going to have to rule in favor of the company, which would probably at that time and in those days would result in him being a one-term district judge. Fortunately, just before he's going to have to mount the bench and make that ruling, the parties announced that they had reached an agreement. But he told me this, and I asked him, well, how did you determine what you were going to do? I mean, how did you make up your mind? And he told me, he said, you got to do the right thing. And that, I think, summarizes or will tell you what I will do as district judge. I will, in each and every case that comes before me, do the right thing. It's what I believed in as an attorney. It's what the longer I practice law, the more I see and the more I revere the courtroom as being that place where anybody, regardless of whether you live in the Country Club Estates or whether you live in Southgate Estates, regardless of your job or your station in life, it's got to be that one point, one place where people can come and be treated fairly. Everybody can come and be treated fairly, and that's what I stand for. I've stood for that for a long, long time, representing my clients. And as a district judge, if elected, you can count on me being ready on day one, because of the experience I've had in trying jury trials throughout this East Texas area, and trying numerous non-jury cases, complex cases, and representing folks in various family law cases. I'll be ready without going to school, because I've been going to school for 37 years. And I'm ready to serve you and everybody in these various counties as a district judge.
In criminal cases, what will guide your decision in sentencing someone to prison or to probation?
I can answer this by telling you the procedure. You have asked me a question that is on the borderline of violating the judicial canon of ethics. Because if I tell you a blue line of everything I will consider, then I will be violating the judicial canon of ethics. And I'm going to tell you the procedure, because I can discuss that with you. And based upon my experience, I do not want someone in this audience to say, hey, Rholston said this and this about what he's going to do on determining whether someone gets probation or not. So with that caveat, and I hope you understand, I brought the rules with me if you want to look at it. But you can't. Each case depends on facts and circumstances. The probation department makes and gives sentencing guidelines. They make reports. They tell you about this person, who is being considered for probation. The judge listens to the prosecutor, their recommendations. The judge listens to sworn testimony that comes from the stand, people that know them, family members. And based upon that testimony, you make a decision in each distinct case as to whether that person is entitled to probation. It depends on a variety of subjects or a variety of things, you know, the danger to the society, what the crime was, so many various and so many things to look at. So the procedure must be followed, and based on that individual case, you make a decision. Okay?
Thank you. Kenny, would you like to address that?
I have to agree with Robert. We're prohibited as judicial candidates from discussing any type of case or any blanket policy that we would have as a district judge for purposes of fairness. And as Robert said, you have to look at each individual circumstances. In addition to what he said, you have to be able to judge the demeanor of the witnesses and the demeanor of the defendant and make your own interpretation about whether or not that person would be an appropriate candidate for probation.
Okay. You get to answer first on the next question.
Okay.
Could you give someone the death sentence?
Well, yes, we have to be able to do that as required by law. If that is an option on the table in a capital case, then we cannot serve as district judge if you're unable to follow the law. Yes.
Robert.
Absolutely.
Okay. Closing remarks, and Robert gets the bad first.
You know, who I am and what I've done as an attorney in this area, you know, is written in the courthouse. You can go to these various counties and you'll find jury verdicts from numerous cases that I've tried. Some very successful, and I hadn't won them all. Some have gone against me. You can go to these same courtrooms, these same district clerk's offices, and you'll find numerous non-jury trials. You'll see my signature on various types of cases, just about anything you can imagine. You will find my signature on family law cases, child custody cases, on any kind of case that comes up and it would be presented. I'm not an unknown quantity to you. It's not what I say I've done. I've been here before you in this community. Some of you have seen me in court. Some of you have litigated against me. Some of you have been my clients. And so I would suggest that if any of you don't know me, you hadn't heard of me, you don't know my reputation, ask someone who has gone against me, who's competed against me in court, because these other lawyers are not my friends, they're my competitors. You know, we compete for business. They know my work ethic. My work ethic has been established. The folks that know me are my competitors. The judges who currently are sitting, they're prohibited by law, by judicial canon of ethics, from expressing any opinion about any candidate running for jobs. So, once again, I'm not unknown. I'm here. I've been here all these years, practicing these various counties, and I think that would be my closing remarks. And like anybody else that stood up here, I want your support, and I want to be your next district judge, and I will promise you this: there will be nobody in this area that will outwork me, because these same people I've mentioned to you know my work ethic. And I will be a fine district judge. I'll follow the law. I'm going to treat people with respect that they deserve, and I will maintain respect for the court and the lawyers in the litigation process.
I think the best way to maintain the respect of the people in the courtroom is to treat people in the courtroom with respect. And I think that's what's been missing from our courtroom in the 276 for a while, and why there's two candidates running for this position. I think people that are coming to court on their worst day probably in their life. They're getting a divorce, they're being sued, they're having a criminal problem, and what they don't need is to be yelled at, to be demeaned, and to be talked down to. Neither do their lawyers, neither do litigants. And one thing that you can expect from me if I'm district judge is on your worst day in court, you're going to be treated with respect. Doesn't mean that I'm going to go easy on you, but I can maintain control of the courtroom pleasantly, and that you're not going to feel like you're being talked down to. And I would really appreciate your vote. Start October 18th. Don't forget about